Hello and welcome to my channel, The Way What Is Truth. Remember to like and to subscribe and to comment down below if you feel like doing so. Now, what I'm about to talk about is a rather contentious issue. It has many Christians divided, although I believe it's roughly 60 to 70% of Christians worldwide I'm talking about here. Accept evolution, millions and millions of years of evolution. They accept the Big Bang, the first self-replicating molecule, which happened, 6.5 billion years ago. Then humans, about 65 million years ago, the first monkeys came onto the scene. I think it's that. And I think we were supposed to have been a fish with soft skin. Then we evolved into a fish with hard skin. Then we eventually evolved into fish that could both breathe in the waters and out of the water, as well as we went onto land. And then that fish eventually evolved into a lizard type creature, I believe it was. And then it went from that. I'm trying to remember because I've seen so many evolutionary documentaries over the years, as well as the documentaries that creationists have done as well. I've seen both sides of the coin. I've been on both sides of this, and I'll tell you more about that in a little while. But yeah, it goes from a lizard creature into a mammal, and then various kind of mammals, I believe. Then the dinosaurs were supposed to come along, and that large mammal had to evolve into something smaller. Yeah, it's all starting to come back to me now up here. In order to stay away from those dinosaurs that were roaming around. And then an asteroid was supposed to hit the Earth approximately 65 million years ago, wiped the dinosaurs out as the Earth was covered with ash, and it was absolute chaos. I don't know the ins and outs of it, but I understand the basic idea. You don't have to be a scientist to understand the basic principles of evolution, right? The evolutionists say it's a common misconception that we evolved from monkeys or chimps and apes, but rather we have a common ancestor, and that evolution is like a tree that branches off into all different directions, right? But nonetheless, if the theory of evolution is indeed true, then it means that we are apes. There's no getting away from that at all. If it's true, then we are apes. We are modern day hairless apes, and we evolved, I think they said, when we started to run. I forget when that was, but when we started to run, we eventually started to lose our fur, which is why we are hairless apes today. Whether evolution is true or not, you can't get life from non-life, and you can't get something from nothing. In fact, the human mind can't even comprehend what nothingness is. If you start to talk to a lot of atheists about nothingness, they'll just laugh at you, because they'll say, "What are you talking about? What is nothing? What nothingness? Exactly." So Christians believe that something must have existed outside of time and outside of the known expanding universe, which is running out of energy, by the way. This universe is. It's a finite universe, absolutely gigantic, of course, beyond the human comprehension. But yeah, the actual universe we are living in does have a limited size. And does Christians believe that an eternal God existed outside of time and space? Right. You see, years ago when I was in my 20s, I used to be this hardened anti-evolutionist. I watched all the videos which proved all the evidence that evolution was a lie. I got into arguments online. I was a real hothead. Now, I don't recommend doing that because it's not productive getting into arguments about anything, especially things as contentious and stuff that will rile people up as much as debating the origins of man. Can you imagine a topic which will divide more people than that? And yes, of course, it's incredibly important what we believe when it comes to our origins as human beings. Of course it is, because it changes our entire perspective, our entire worldview. Millions and billions of people are atheist or agnostic or have even left the church because of evolution, because they simply cannot reconcile it with the book of Genesis. Now, many Christians believe the book of Genesis is allegory, or well, we either see it as allegory, as something that did not literally happen, or we have a different take on it altogether. There are old Earth creationists as well. You see, both evolutionists and creationists have it wrong, but in different ways. Nobody has all the answers. And sometimes the most well-educated of individuals, you know the ones I'm talking about, the ones with master's degrees, the biblical scholars, which many of them are atheists, by the way, the archaeologists, the scientists, the historians. Sometimes the more we know, the more we can get it wrong. That's something I've learned in this life. And it sounds a bit... it sounds a bit illogical, doesn't it? When I say that the more we know, the more we can get it wrong. But when you really think about it, the more our knowledge increases, the more our biases and our worldviews can concrete and get so solidified because of the amount of knowledge and understanding we've gained about a subject, whether it's about evolution, science, history, archaeology. So we can either end up getting it very, very right, at least about certain things, and very, very wrong about other things, which is why I've always said that only God has absolute knowledge. No one human being on this earth knows everything. That's just a ridiculous statement to say that anyone knows everything. We can formulate opinions based on the evidence that we have before us, but ultimately we are weighed down by our biases, our worldviews, which is why I've always tried, ever since I was a teenager, not that I succeeded very well, of course, when I was much, much younger. I'm not talking about the way I am now, because as I've gotten older, I've matured, I've mellowed, and I've become a lot calmer. I was always philosophical, but I always had a bit of a hard edge to me. When I was younger, I used to get into online arguments, so-called intellectual debates, which there's nothing intellectual about them. In fact, even to this day, I watch creationists argue with atheists, and they are some of the most stupid and pointless arguments in the world. There's this YouTube channel called The Atheist Experience, and I've watched many of their videos, and I see Christians and creationists, so-called creationists, whatever that's supposed to mean. I suppose it refers to people that believe the earth is only 6,000 years old, 6-day creation, and all that stuff. And they don't believe the earth is millions or billions of years old. Anyway, they ring up these phone lines and talk to these atheists, and I just think, what are you doing? Have some dignity and self-respect. There is no point in arguing with these atheists, because these are people, for a start, they tend to be very well educated, their heads are full of knowledge, they've made their own minds up. And they just listen to these Christians, these creationist types, and they just listen to what they've got to say, and no matter what they say, they come up with a counter-argument. You see, most people that debate stuff on YouTube and online in general, they've got no intention of having their minds changed by anybody else, whether they're right or wrong or anywhere in between. That's human nature. We would rather mock other people's intelligence or just think they're ignorant or they don't know what they're talking about. Some people may say, get an education. If you don't believe in evolution, get an education. So it's a crazy world out there. I'd just like to encourage any brothers and sisters in Christ right now not to get embroiled in so-called intellectual debates online. I don't know if you've noticed this, but I have mostly steered well clear of this topic and subject, and really the whole point of me doing this video is to ask you, my viewer, right now, what do you think? Do you believe in a literal 6-day creation? Please tell me I've gotten that right and it's not a 5 or 7-day creation. Yeah, because on the 7th day God rested, didn't he? So tell me whether or not you believe that the book of Genesis is literal or whether it's allegory. Right? Or perhaps you believe that Adam and Eve existed, but you don't know when they existed. It may have been anywhere between 6 and 20,000 years ago, for all we know. That's what I always used to think. I always used to think, well, if Adam and Eve existed, it would have been between... Well, I did some biblical calculations, and I came at a figure of 10 to 13,000 years ago. That's if a literal Adam and Eve did exist. And believe me, years ago, I really did believe in a literal Adam and Eve, and a part of me still does. I'm sort of 50-50 on it. But as I've gotten older, I mellowed out so much, because the older I've become, the more I realise just how little we know. And these evolutionists have gotten so much right. Not everything. Not everything. I could tell you some things about the dinosaurs. If you go onto the internet right now and type in the tomb of Bishop Bell, he's an English bishop which died a few hundred years ago. I think it may have been either the 16th or the 15th century. I could be wrong. But Bishop Bell's tomb, and it's a bronze tomb with bronze carvings on it out of many different animals, including a couple of dinosaurs, which look very, very much like Apatosaurus dinosaurs. And on that website, it says there's various carvings of different animals, including what very much, and I mean, at least 98% look like Apatosaurus dinosaurs. You can't get it exactly right, obviously, because it's a bronze carving, right, which is relatively simple compared to the real thing. But nonetheless, it's there on that website. And they say there's a couple of carvings of two dinosaurs which look very much like Apatosaurus dinosaurs, but they can't be dinosaurs, of course, because they died out approximately 65 million years ago. And you'll find that these atheists, especially the atheists and the evolutionists, they are convinced that all dinosaurs died out millions of years ago, and there's absolutely no way on earth that human beings and dinosaurs could have coexisted. And if they hear anyone talking about anything like that, anyone talking about all of the dinosaur petroglyphs that have been found, the human and dinosaur footprints that have been found online, which are in the same stratosphere as one another, and the soft fleshy tissue and so on and so forth that have been found in so many dinosaurs, even intestines, livers, kidneys, blood cells, soft stretchy tissue, like I've said before. I've done my research into this over many, many years, but I will leave a few links down below, definitely. So I definitely do believe that even if dinosaurs did die out millions of years ago, like what evolutionists say, they could be wrong, they could be right. At the very least, man and dinosaurs did live together over the past few thousand years, but I believe that they were becoming increasingly rare as climate change killed them off, a lack of endangered species programs, definitely that was a part of it, and hunting as well, spike pits. Dinosaurs, like the average size of a dinosaur is the size of a sheep, by the way. But of course, many dinosaurs were very big and ferocious and scary. So they were hunted, and human beings have always had their brains, you see. We've always known how to hunt animals, whether they're huge or small. So it's perfectly possible that human beings did kill off the rest of the remaining dinosaurs, right? And I've seen so much evidence of that, and I will leave a few links down below. I'm not going to go crazy, because it's one of those topics where you either believe it or you don't. You're either interested in it or you're not. So I'm going to leave it there when it comes to the dinosaurs. But this world is a massive, huge, mysterious place. There is so much that we don't know. Take the pyramids. Most engineering experts and even archaeologists and historians, when they look at those pyramids, they say we could not make those pyramids today, even with our technology. In fact, I don't think anybody has tried to replicate what those pyramids used to look like. By the way, they used to be made of smooth limestone, and there used to be a golden cap on top, and they were made with such genius, mathematical precision, astrological perfection. And there's a man called, what's his name? Please Lord help me remember this guy's name. Patrick Heron is his name, a Scottish man. He wrote a book, I might have his name wrong, I'm not sure, but he wrote a book called The Nephilim and the Pyramids of the Apocalypse, which I've been meaning to buy. But I watched his documentary. I'll leave a link to that down below as well, which is a fantastic video. He talks rather fast, but he covers how 85% of Bible prophecy has been fulfilled and all sorts of topics. He goes over the Greek and Roman gods. He talks about all sorts of things. Anyway, inside the pyramids, there is depicted a race of two different giants, a smaller race of giants and a taller race of giants. You can type it in on the internet. A lot of people have jumped to the conclusion, they think, well, either aliens helped mankind made those pyramids. Some Christians believe that the Nephilim helped human beings make those pyramids. To be honest with you, I think there must have been some kind of otherworldly, supernatural influence. Something. It could not be human beings just on their own. A lot of historians and archaeologists just think it's a long lost, advanced race of people which made those pyramids. And many historians and archaeologists, atheists included, of course, but are starting to think that people many, many thousands of years ago are far, far cleverer and more advanced than what we give them credit for. Something else I'd like to mention is this. There's a temple called the Temple of Jupiter in Lebanon. It has foundation blocks which weigh between 800 and 1,000 tons. No one can figure out how they got there either. This is what I mean. Around this world there are structures. It's just so incredible. They're just two examples I've given you. How impossible it would be for relatively primitive people to make those pyramids when we can't even replicate them today. Same goes for those foundation blocks under the Temple of Jupiter in Lebanon. Right? There's like a landing platform there which the temple was built upon, which very much looks like it was made for like spacecraft to land on, right? There's so much we don't know. And every time I read a book, the more I learn, the more I realise just how little I know. I know so little. And yeah, as I've gotten older, I've lost my hard edge. I've lost all of my argumentativeness, if that's a word. I'm not argumentative anymore. I don't care about debating or arguing people. People have tried to argue with me on this channel. They've tried to debate me. And I just end up deleting their comments. It's not that I want to, but you know what? I have gotten into some kind of conversations with some of these people. They're usually atheists, which have called me all different names. I don't hold it against them, but that's just how it is. When you have a Christian YouTube channel, in fact, anyone with any kind of worldview or beliefs gets picked on, and Christians are the most persecuted faith group in the world. So definitely look that up online as well. And I just think it's a mess because even if evolutionists are right about the origins of man, they don't know everything. They really, really don't. They know so little. And I think that evolutionists and creationists both have it wrong in different ways. There's no way that this Earth is only 6,000 years old. I'm in two minds about whether or not Adam and Eve literally existed. Leave a comment down below and tell me what you think. I'll leave a few links down below, like I said earlier on, showing proof that man and dinosaurs lived together. It's up to you what you think to that. You can think I'm mistaken and that I've got it completely wrong and that there are other more logical explanations. Fair enough. Tell me why I'm wrong in the comments section. I don't mind. Tell me if I'm wrong about evolution. Tell me if I'm wrong about... I mean, I haven't really said anything specifically about the book of Genesis because it's something that I respect so much, the creation story in the Bible. But like I said earlier on, I'm 50-50 on it because I like to see myself as an unbiased and impartial, objective observer of this kind of stuff. I'm just weighing it up all the time. Even if today, me looking at my mobile phone right now, were to say to you, dear viewer, I believe in millions of years of evolution. I believe human beings are apes and that we have ape descendants. I believe that the human race are a bunch of animals and that God wanted it like that and that he created everything that way. In a few months or a few weeks, depending on what I might read or what I might see online, I might change my mind. That's the kind of person I am. I'm not saying I'm a flaky person, but do you remember what I told you earlier on in this video that years ago, for years and years and years, throughout the whole of my teenage years, well, from the age of 16 to 32, 33, that kind of age, I was a hardened, I don't say creationist. I never believed the Earth was just 6,000 years old. I just believed there were other explanations like pre-Adamic civilizations, that kind of stuff. Like, I used to think that it's entirely possible that the sons of God, the angels of God, had civilizations not only on this planet but throughout the solar system on different planets. But then I think to myself, the evolutionists have discovered so much. I mean, wow. I mean, there really are skeletons and fossils of ape to man creatures out there that look very close to us. I mean, they literally were creatures that looked like they were halfway between a monkey, an ape, a chimp, and a human being, both in their cranial capacity, the size of their brains, the size of their skulls. I've seen a lot of evolutionary documentaries, don't forget, but I've also seen the other side of it as well. So I like to think that I'm quite objective, but I think that, do Christians need to be so against evolution? Should we see it as an insult to our faith? Should we get angry and annoyed about it? Or should we go with the flow and just sort of let the scientists get on with it? Like I said earlier on, there is so much that we don't know. There is so much that we don't know. And the older I've become and the more I've learned, the more it's humbled me. And the views and opinions, these very strong anti-evolutionist views I had, have softened. They haven't gone entirely, because I'm still the same old me underneath all of this, but I've mellowed so much. And I've become even more broad-minded as time's gone on, and I realise that I don't have all the answers. I mean, I never thought I did. But like I said, as I've gotten older, I've realised more and more and more just how little I know. And I think that many people have far too high an opinion of themselves. They think because they've got this master's degree, or they've done this, they've done that, they've got high social status, they're experts in whatever field they're in, therefore they have highly regarded opinions. But I'm telling you, even the most famous atheist you could care to mention is not 100% certain that God does not exist. They may say, well, I'm 98, 99% certain, but anyone with any brain at all would have the humility and the intellect to realise, you know what, I can't say I'm 100% certain because I haven't searched the whole universe for him. And of course, many people say that God is something that nobody can prove. There's a reason why Christians call it a faith, and it's up to you, dear viewer, whether or not you believe in God. I assume you do, because this is a Christian YouTube channel. Now, God bless you. I'm going to end the video now because I really don't want to make it too long, and my longer videos don't tend to get too many views, so I definitely need to keep an eye on that timer. So bye-bye and take care. I will add a small description below and a few links. I hope you enjoyed them. In fact, I implore anybody right now to watch those links. Even if you think I'm completely wrong about man and dinosaurs having lived together over the past few thousand years, all that stuff I suggested about the pyramids, about the foundation blocks in Lebanon underneath the Temple of Jupiter. And I could go on about all sorts of things. I mean, when I think about all the temples, for example, I'm really, really sorry, I do apologise. When I think about all of the temples that have been created for the gods of ancient Greece and Rome, the Temple of Athena, that's in the province of Salerno, which is where I came from, the Italian side of my family, from my dad's side. There's a temple there called the Temple of Athena. In fact, it was mistook for her for Zeus's daughter's sister's temple at first, but then they discovered it was Athena's temple afterwards. And when I think about all these temples, I think, why would they devote so much time and energy and worship to beings that never ever existed, never visited them, just fictional characters, like characters out of a comic book, a fairy tale? And I'm thinking, could they be that superstitious? Could they be that ignorant, deeply ignorant, to such an extent as to worship these fictional gods, which were a rich part of their culture? Or were they real? I think, could they be the fallen sons of God? Is it possible that they could have been visited by higher beings, and that's why there's so many temples devoted to these gods? And on that note, I'll leave it there. God bless you all, and amen.